Good evening. You're joining the Military Transition Network webinar. With me is my good friend, retired Air Force Chief Master Sergeant Frank Murphy. And I promise you, Chief, this will be the first and only time I will refer to you by your rank. The rest of the evening, I will call you Frank. This event is being recorded, so in case people come in halfway through the conversation, we'll be able to provide it to you at a later date on YouTube and Facebook. So we're doing this in the effort to help people make intelligent decisions about their post-military life. So Frank, you and I have been talking a lot about academic choices, and I want to give a little bit of a background about you. Okay, Frank was an Air Force Chief Master Sergeant. He was a load master. I love the joke you said today about, you know, the guy that was jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, that you made more money as the guy kicking him out than the guy that was flying out of the airplane. So how many years were you a load master, Frank?
26 years, 30 years total service. So
26 years as a load master, okay. When did you get pushed up to the role of an airlift control element person or manager?
Well, it was mission support team chief, and I went to McGuire in 1999. From there till 2003, and pretty much stayed in that role.
So you were McGuire, and then you went to Travis, or was it? Where were you exactly?
I was at Travis, did some augmentee stuff for them and everything else, and then went to McGuire into the big unit. They were calling it Air Mobility Operations Group at the time, and then left there in 2003 and went back to Travis again. Gotcha.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest challenge most military guys face when they're looking at academic options these days?
So now it's a big difference. I did some correspondence courses and stuff like that. I did where, you know, years ago where you got the videotape, and then where you had CDs and stuff that were mailed back and forth. Now you can access pretty much anywhere online. Even while you're deployed, you can still do classes. So it's changed a lot, but I'll tell you, everybody that takes online classes, I think, would agree it's more difficult than a classroom in the sense that you have to be more motivated to kind of keep on top of your work. And it's
really?
easy to get distracted and do other stuff versus actually doing the coursework.
Really?
Yep. That's probably.
So you could, from the comfort of Sodom International Airport, you can actually actually upload courses? Is that correct?
You can, so most of the places out there now have where you can access online stuff and everything else, and normally courses are like that as well. The internet's out there, you know. Saddam International is now Baghdad International, so.
Gotcha.
We did a lot for him.
So what was your career path for your education? Share with us how you started your college degree program. And I know we talked that you didn't have a college degree when you joined the Air Force. What was your impetus to start getting your bachelor's and then your master's, and now you're working on your PhD?
So it initially started just to kind of get more educated and kind of get a college degree. When I first came into the Air Force, didn't know what I wanted to do, that kind of a thing. I think that's pretty common. So I figured instead of going to college and trying to figure it out there, I'd come in the military and then leave after 4 years. Took, you know, an occasional class here and there, English, basic math and stuff. Started really getting serious when I came to Travis, finished my associate's degree in logistics management. From there, Desert Storm and all that happened, and directly after that, I was like, I'm getting a bachelor's degree. So I worked with SIU, which was every other weekend, for industrial technology, and pretty much the weekends that I was at home station, I was going to school all day Saturday and Sunday, and then I would fly until the next time was go to school, which would be every other weekend. So just kind of continued that pace to get a bachelor's degree. Took some time after that to do more military professional stuff, try and get promoted and all that type stuff, which worked fairly well. Moved on. Basically was looking for a master's program when I was in New Jersey, tried different ones and everything else, but really didn't have the time to do it. came back to Travis and started working on my MBA. Finished that off while I was a group superintendent, which was a juggling act. That was pretty much in the office on Saturdays to kind of get that done. And left the Air Force, retired, decided I did want to get a doctorate, and started working that in 2014 while I was working as a civilian, federal civilian. So
let's circle back when you're the group operations superintendent at Travis Air Force Base. How many people were you supervising at that point?
There's 1,000 people in the group, roughly 650 enlisted.
So you were responsible for 650 enlisted people?
Yeah, and impact the ideas, thoughts, and efforts of the other 350 that were officers.
Oh, yes. Okay. So you provide that enlisted viewpoint to those officers. Okay.
Exactly. They outranked me, and they didn't work for me, but
you had some influence on
them. So.
Yeah. I've heard a couple stories about you not sharing your black telephone when you were overseas. So, but that's not the point of our conversation. It's, you know, the point is that you found time you carved out time to take care of your education. And do you think that your education when you work on your master's helped you become a better superintendent and boss while you were on active duty?
I do, because I think it helps you display the information better. I think it's really a trick of being able to get your message across succinctly and everything else. And I think we can all, you know, kind of drone on sometimes and everything else. But if you're writing a paper at the master's level, they're looking for you to get your point across sharp, crisp, and it's not a no error thing. It's like with, you know, critical thinking involved and everything else. And when I go to the staff meetings, I'd pretty much use the same effort and everything else, throw it out there, and they're looking at it going, wait a minute. You know, so those white papers that we were just throwing together, all of a sudden you're putting a little more detail into it that it's hard to argue against.
Gotcha.
You know? So you come up with, you know, here's option A, option B, and option C. I say we go with C, but, you know, you've got all the details. You tell me what you want to do. And I think
and so I'm guessing your commanders and your supervisors had to appreciate that kind of information.
Yeah, and I think it gave you more discipline to actually sit down and write too. I mean, you know, people would complain, oh, I have to write a 5-page paper. I'm like, 5-page paper? What am I doing, you know, after breakfast?
So you got to the point where you could almost think in the 5-page paper thing so you could actually make problems in such a way that people could understand the processes they need to improve the operational flow for the Air Force. So you were at Travis Air Force Base. That's a C5 wing, correct?
C5, C-17, and KC-10.
Okay, so you had all three of those, and then you also probably based your experience on deploying in some unfamiliar airfields. What's your least favorite airfield that you've been to there, Chief? Oops, sorry, Frank.
I don't know if I have a least favorite. I mean, they're all kind of challenging. You know, working out of Africa a few times, it's not the best place, but you really learn a lot. You have like minimal support, so you have to figure the problem out. You don't have anybody you can call to or anything else and say, help me. You're the one on the ground and you just kind of do it. I mean, I think that's kind of the beauty of that type work is they just give you a mission and you go do it.
So now you're working on your PhD, and tell us about your PhD and where you're going with your research.
So actually a DBA, Doctorate in Business Administration, same level, but just more on the applied side versus the theoretical. The research is looking at employee engagement, specifically in open offices and cubicles. And what it's doing is looking at whether that cubicle environment impacts employee productivity as you measure it by job satisfaction. So what it means is, are we screwing people up by putting them in open offices and getting less productivity out of it because we're worried more about the real estate costs than what the people costs are?
Okay. So what would you advise people that are on active duty right now that are kind of like load masters and people like our friend R.T. McLean? Hi, hello, Chief. How are you? What would you advise them as far as how to pick the best, you know, undergraduate and then master's program? What would be your advice to them about that process?
But one, I would carve the time out to actually do the research and kind of look at the different schools. So it's easy to pick off like, all the online ones and everything else. And, this one will get you in fast and you don't have to worry about taking an admission test and all that. And that's really a very small part of the process. Just today, an article came out talking about Argosy, which is a fairly popular online school, or not just online, but for-profit school, and it looks like they're going to lose their federal funding. If that happens, they're basically going to close their doors.
What school is this again?
Argosy.
Okay, where are they based out of?
I believe they're in California. It's actually one of the ones I had looked at for my doctorate, believe it or not. Yeah. So one of the issues is look at what the schools are and then look at what the different ones that you have access to actually put out there as majors and where they're ranked. So you want to get a good school that has a good alumni program so you can network with people that are doing the same kinds of things that you aspire to do. And then you also want to get one that's regionally accredited as opposed to national accreditation. The reason I say that's important, it may not seem very important right now, but if you ever want to teach in a university, they're looking for that regional part. They're not looking for the national accreditation.
Really?
Yep. And the other part is look at what really that school can do for you and the kind of environment. If I had it all to do over again, I think I would have done my MBA at a traditional classroom environment, not a traditional, daytime thing, but maybe traditional classroom like on the weekends or, at night or something like that. I had access to UC Berkeley and UC Davis. The reason I didn't do it was because of the job I had. But the reality was I could have changed my hours around to kind of fit that. And I think that's something you have to kind of take into account. Talk to your boss and go, this is what I'd like to do. Will you support me? And I never had a boss in the Air Force that said, we absolutely won't support you going to school. It was more me saying, well, I don't think I should do that, as opposed to looking at a bigger, longer term picture.
Gotcha. So let's do something here real quick. And for people, where would you start with the research? So I've got a screen below with with LinkedIn with my profile. So I'm gonna do a new share. I'm gonna move it down to this. Let's just walk me through what you would do when you're using LinkedIn, okay?
Sure.
Hang on a second. I gotta find the right screen. Hang on a second. New share. Technology. Okay. New share. Stop share. All right. Let me do this. I'm still working out all the parameters of this RT. I'm still a 3 level on when it comes to using all the screens that I have here. Okay, hang on a second here. We've got that one. We got this one, and now we'll share. Okay, there it is. Now we see my screen. So let's do something here real quick. RT, where's your degree from?
My degree is from Wayland Baptist University.
Okay, so let's just see this. We know that's a great school, Wayland Baptist. Okay, so we go up here, right? We go to Wayland Baptist University. All right, we look for that. Okay, we see what we've got there and see who we've got in there. And as you see there, we got their website, but then it also says CL 28200. Okay. 2 people from your school were hired here. You could do that. Now you can do a more advanced search. Okay, let's do this. Search for people, and we're going to go here. Connections, locations, all filters. Let's just do connections. First degree, apply. Now let's go here, and we put current companies. Wayland Baptist, and we can see who do we know, first degree with that, and you apply, and voila, there's 2 people I know that have degrees from that fine school. So I know James, I know Don, and I could go to Don and say, Don, think about getting my master's degree from Wayland Baptist, and drop him a note. So that's kind of a process I think a lot of our military guys don't undertake. Wouldn't you say there, Frank?
I'd say that very much, but I'd take it one more step, Matt. I would go, I I haven't done Wayland Baptist, but let's try it. Wayland Baptist University alumni.
Let's do that. That's a good idea. Let's see what we get here.
So you can see if there's an alumni association or not, and how many members.
Wayland Baptist University.
So you have it right at the bottom.
Right there. There we go. 33 members. Request to join.
So I did look up UTSA since we're in San Antonio. I looked at UTSA, and their alumni association has 2,691 members.
Yep, I'm a member of that. I'm a graduate of that.
And then A&M San Antonio has 450. So both of those colleges that are local, I mean, you could look at that and go, if you were looking at a degree program from either one of those going, okay, let me join the alumni part if I'm an alumni or I want to be, or just search for people that actually belong to it and ask questions. The other part is if you go to faculty and stuff like that, you can see who's in the College of Business, for example, at UTSA.
Let's do that just for the heck of this. Let's see, UTSA, UTSA College of Business staff or just faculty. See what that gets us.
Well, if you just do College of Business, it'll pull up all kinds of people.
Look at that. Look at that. So these are all these people. Okay. All right. Director of Marketing Sports Management Program, Dr. Richard W. Jensen. Okay. So if I was thinking about, if I was on active duty here at Lackland Air Force Base, then I can go, okay. So Richard W. Jensen. I'm thinking about being a marketing guy. I'd reach out to Dr. Jensen and say, hey, something like this, you know, Dr. Jensen, thinking about going to school at UTSA. I have my VA benefits. What can you tell me? Something like that, right? You think that's good?
That's good, but the other part that you could follow up with any of the professors is what's your background, and this is what I'm looking to do long term.
Yeah, but your background and what, good point, and what will my degree provide me when I complete my studies there? Something like that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna go ahead. Go ahead, Frank.
What I was going to say is one question I've asked, you know, the different professors I've talked to is how much experience they actually have outside the academic world. So what you're looking for is somebody that can blend that academic and experience portion. So you're not just getting, here's the book knowledge, but nobody knows how to apply it.
Yeah, I gotcha. I'm going to show you one of my, you know, and that's the thing is like you want to see what the professors are all about, not just look at the shiny brochures and all that good stuff. You want to be able to say, what am I going to do with this degree? And tell me about your background. Okay. RT, do you have any questions?
Hey, good evening, Matt and Frank. I just wanted to say thanks for letting me be a part of this. This is all great information, I guess, coming from the part of still being active. I'm doing the best I can as I get ready to transition to make sure I pass on, you know, this information to the active members now. Being Navy, I have worked around Air Force, Army, and the Marines as well. But it's amazing how unfortunate it is that a lot of people don't realize the value of this. A lot of people think that they have to wait until a year out or 2 years out before they retire to do this. And I'm trying to beat the drum to the junior folks that they're kind of presenting it as though it's a professional Facebook. This is something to use to network and just stay in touch. And similar to what you're talking about now, this is awesome tools in regards to as they pursue their education, because, you know, similar to you, I try to lead by example. So it's like the junior sailors, they see me at my level finding time to do this. They realize, well, hey, if he can do it, you know, I should be able to do it as well. And then I do my part to try to make time for them. So I'm really enjoying this and sitting back. I guess I do have a question. In regards to your federal, you know, you going from military to federal, can you talk more about that process, what it consisted of?
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I worked at Travis Air Force Base, and I was the superintendent at one end of the building and moved to the other end of the building as a GS, as a temporary employee. And part of it, to be honest, I didn't know if I wanted to, what I wanted to do when I got out. You know what I mean? I knew I wanted to go to college, but as far as exactly what I wanted to do. So we were looking at, real estate. We bought rental house and, did some stuff like that. But I didn't know if I wanted to supervise people or anything like that. I figured out pretty fast that, yes, I still like that part. So I changed to another federal job and worked out of San Francisco and commuted down there for 7 years. But basically, if you go into the federal side of it, there's some ways to do your resume where you're taking what they're advertising and then basically building a Word document that addresses all those points, because that's what they're looking for. Otherwise, you're not going to get past the automated part. You will never get referred, and then kind of go for it. So it's not as easy to jump into a higher level job all the time unless you kind of fall into it. But there are jobs that will let you, it's on a ladder that it's called, that'll either start at a GS7 or a GS9, and you'll end up as a 12 after a certain amount of time. Usually you can get promoted once a year if you complete their training program and everything else. So in other words, they'll bring you on board and then train you up. If you start as a 9, you can end up as a 12 without competing again.
Right.
So I try and tell people that are looking for that style of stuff, that's what they want to look for, as opposed to, I'm going to go get a GS7 job and then that's it. Okay. Or a GS9, or because then you'll have to compete again to do something else. The other part is once you enter into it as a 9 or a 7 or an 11 or whatever, you have to do a year at that grade before you can go to the next higher one. So in other words, if you undershoot and go, I'll start as a 5, then you're going to have to do a year as a 5, then a year as a 7, then a year as a 9. Where if you started out higher, you could have worked it better.
Understood. Okay.
So, RT, you're being surrounded by Air Force loadmasters here. I see Dwayne Stoll, who I've just added to the event. Dwayne's had the experience of flying in Joe Biden into exotic ports of call over in the Middle East.
Yeah, it was good times. We didn't get shot at or anything that I can report.
So Chief McClellan, RT, I would love to do this again. What would be a good way, or what would be a good time for us to get some of your junior sailors to look at all this so we can really talk them through the research part?
Time as far as time of the day or what?
Yeah, time of the day. I own my own business. I'm flexible. I know that right now Frank's pretty flexible, and I think Dwayne's very flexible. What can we do to help people make educated decisions, with their academic career? And I have to be honest with you too, sir. It's a lot different than when I retired in 1997. It's much better. Yeah. And a lot has to do with our previous commander as far as how he did the professional certifications and all of the things that you can get available now while you're still on active duty. Are you seeing that in the Navy right now, RT?
Oh, most definitely. I sit back and as I wind up this career, I sit back and think about how things have changed, from in the beginning where tuition assistance for college, I think it was like I paid 50% and the military paid 50% as compared to now, it's roughly $4,500 a year that's being provided to me to go to school. So whenever I do career development boards with my sailors, I tell them, I first ask them how long have they been in. They'll tell me 5 years. I'm like, how much schooling have you done in that time frame? They'll tell me 0. I'm like, well, it must be pretty cool to be as rich as you are to donate, $16,000 back to the military because, the money that you don't use goes back, or doesn't get used whatsoever. So I have definitely seen a lot of improvements, and they continue to improve because, people similar to myself, and you guys, you're promoting the fact that education and the benefits of it and the fact that, it's another resource, and it shows proactiveness on our part by doing it, not just, the days of do what I say and not what I do, but leading by example as well. So it definitely has changed. I mean, from 97 until now, I joined back in 89 and, from computers to access to information and this here, I mean, this is pretty good to see, go from a discussion to having this in place. It's like, it makes it available for people across the globe.
Well, that's a mission of the Military Transition Network we've been doing seminars. I know Dwayne's been to one of those, and I also know that Frank was speaking today at one of them, and he's also part of people that we get to go out and speak. And I'm going to do a plug for our next event, which is next Thursday in beautiful Fort Hood. And we hope that you can all pass the word out to that. And we're going to, do our best to let everybody know about that. But the point is that we're trying to educate people on their options and not just, oh my God, I've got 2 months and I got to find a job. So that's our mission right there.
And there's so much information out there. I went to a VA appointment today thinking that, VRE, Chapter 31 was my last option, for getting any more education whatsoever. Found out because I'm a Texas resident and I joined in Texas and retired in Texas, that not only can I continue another 150 hours worth of education, but so can all of my family. Each one of my family members is entitled to 150 hours because I'm 100% disabled. So pretty shocking. And it restarted the clock. Like I haven't used any of those hours so far.
And what are you going to do now, Dwayne, with that extra education?
Well, now that I have more resources, I'm going to look around just a little bit more, truthfully. So
okay.
See what I can do.
Any other questions? I'm going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes. Again, this is my first webinar, and I got to thank my friend Dwayne because he's kind of walked me through it. I now feel like, like in the military, in the Air Force RT, we have like 1 levels, 3 levels, 5 levels, 7 levels, and 9 levels.
Yes, for training, yes.
Okay. Dwayne and Frank are 9 levels. I'm just barely passing my 3 level of Zoom webinars. Okay, so I've bombed a couple of times, but I'm getting really comfortable with this, and we've got some other topics on the horizon we want to use with this. So the question, I go back to you, Master Chief, because I know you're a Master Chief there, is how could we do this with the Navy? Because the Navy is really underserved when it comes to the whole transition space. What would you recommend?
So I would recommend word of mouth and getting information out, the advertisement of information. Unfortunately, it's like if you don't know where to look, you don't know where to find the information. So
okay.
Myself and there's other folks just putting it out there that, hey, this is available via webinar. Now, will this be available like after the fact? So if someone wanted to log on and review it also just to get the information if they weren't available to participate?
That's our hope. According to my technical person, we're recording this as we speak.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah, so that's the plan. And, if the U.S. Navy wanted to fly myself and Frank and Dwayne, we probably could catch a hop and come out there to your place and do a really wonderful webinar someday.
Okay. Yeah, because unfortunately out here at Lemoore, NAS Lemoore in California, very large military presence, but like Military City, USA, I look around to try to find opportunities to participate in stuff here, and there's nothing really in place. So that's something that I'm working on as well. But I will ask around and see what the taste is for it. But still, my junior sailors, I'll make sure that they're aware that this is available and point them in a direction. I champion the Military Transition Network all the time.
So I guess what we're looking at, RT, is we want to find a date where time. If we could, if it's a lunchtime thing, that would mean like us getting on the horn at like 2 o'clock and doing this again. I would like to do that.
Gotcha.
We can actually, we can answer questions about universities and all that. We can show people how to do that. I think when people see the power of LinkedIn can be really powerful. And we go back to the alumni group. So, Frank, how important is the alumni group, do you think, now for people leaving the military and once they complete their degree? How do you think that would help them with a job success?
It's perfect to do, because if somebody's already working at a company, the company knows the value that they brought from the school that they took. For example, if they were in finance or accounting or management or whatever, it's already a known quantity of what they're going to get. So if you can connect with that, and then the hiring manager already looks and says, oh, this person came from Wayland Baptist or UTSA or whatever, and we already know the knowledge that they have, I think it gives you a heads up, this is the kind of person we're going to get. Nothing's ever perfect, but at least it's a starting point. Because right now, most of the hiring is, you know, more connections than it is. If you throw the resume out and you go, I've got this degree, they're like, so is everybody else. What makes you different? Why would I hire you? So if you had somebody in the alumni group that could already working there, and you could go, hey, how is Booz Allen to work for? And go, well, they do this, this, and this is what you need on your resume. And when you do the interview, this is what they're looking at. That's golden. I mean, you can't buy that information.
No, you can't, which is why we've got this, you know, this is our first real webinar on Military Transition Network, and we're going to grow this. And I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I had to share this one picture real quick. This is our good friend. You know, Garlic, you know, is that an M16 there, Frank, or is that another kind of weapon?
No, it's a gal. It's so M16 has 3-round burst. That actually had full auto, and we got issued our own weapons and everything else. That's the kind of unit that was. It was rapid deployment, first responder type. You got a trouble shot or go to a place and set something up. I mean, those are the kinds of guys that they call on to go do that.
Yeah, we carried gals on our Talon as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not many people know about them. I mean, it's kind of, and as soon as everybody sees them, they want to steal them. I mean.
Yeah, we had gals and 12-gauge shotguns.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Right and heard. Okay. Guys, it's been fun. I know we're all connected on LinkedIn. RT, please let any of your junior sailors know that we'd love to do this again and that they can connect with us. And, you know, it's that word of mouth thing. I'm sure you've got 3 or 4 future Master Chiefs in your organization you're trying to grow and build into the replacement for you when you decide to pull the, you know, the pin on your retirement. You know, please feel free to have them connect with me at, you know, my profile. I am a lighthouse keeper, and that's how, you know, I came up with that, because through evolution, because I help people, you know, see everything. So I'm going to say goodnight in just a second, unless anybody has any other questions.
Hey, I got a to-do to provide you that information. I'm going to ask around on base and try to narrow something down to try to find a date or time, or, you know, to where I can get some sailors together to have them talk to you, or some proposed dates.
Well, there's 2 things we can do. Number one, we can do the basic LinkedIn thing, you know, which is the 3 elements you need to be successful. And then we can also talk about the education. So maybe it's a 2-part series. One's on LinkedIn basics, and then the next one is how to use it. Now that you've got a profile, how do you use it to find the answers you need when you're looking at your your academic opportunities, not only on active duty, but when you leave the military.
Understand. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Well, guys, thank you. And I'm going to say good night.
Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Thanks.
All right.